Hello everyone, welcome to Scorched Earth Toys at anymoon.com's review of Yamato's 1/12 scale Votom's Scopedog toys. These are the original Scopedog releases. We won't be covering two of the gift sets, but it'd just be more of the same. One of the toys that would be covered in kind of the scope of this review is the Red Shoulder version 1 with clear armor parts toy. I don't actually own that particular one. It seems to have come out around the same time as the version 2, so I believe it was just Yamato's way to move some excess stock of version 1s. Even on the box, it looks like a tape was put over the version 2 box that says it is a version 1 toy. What I do have is the other releases, and 4 of those come in the exact same style box. It has the flip-top lid. This box is the same box that Yamato used for its early 148 VF1 toys. The 5th release we're talking about today is the Melkia version, which comes in essentially the same box, but with more purple art on the front of it. There's also a couple of gift sets available. I have the Chirico gift set. There was a parachute sack also, a parachute sack gift set also. Both of those are Toys R Us exclusives in Japan. The outer box just holds the regular retail boxes within it. So as you can imagine, they're pretty thick boxes. Gift sets aside, because I would review the accessories separately, inside the standard box you got the rifle, 2 sets of ammunition tins, 6 magazines, and 2 fixed posed hands. Behind the tray that holds the toy, you would also find instructions and stickers. Alright, so we have 5 different toys here, all of which retailed for 17,800 yen. The line got kicked off in December 2004 with the standard Scopedog. In April 2005, we got the Melkia version of it. I believe in May of 2005, Toys R Us stores in Japan started selling the Red Shoulder version, including the Red Shoulder plus Chirico gift set. In September 2005, Toys R Us also had the Parachute Pack gift set. There was a DVD of Votom's release that had a mail away for the Odon Investigation Unit, and I believe if you purchased that version, you were put into a raffle for the Red Shoulder Aptitude Test version, in which 100 people got the right to purchase that toy. Now, the Melkia and Standard Edition toys were also available through Yamato USA distribution, and they could be purchased for a retail of $125.95. When you first pull the toy out of the box, you're going to notice that it does look pretty plain. There's a lot of large pieces of plastic here with absolutely no exterior detail or even very minimal detail from a mold perspective. So it does look plain in person as well as in pictures. It does look a little more impressive in person because there's so much to it. But it is a bummer that there isn't more detail there. The other thing you're going to notice right away is that there's not a lot of stuff that comes with this toy, right? So you get your big rifle. It does have the little fire speed mechanism here. It has the grip that comes off to the side. It has a removable butt, but it doesn't come with the short barrel conversion, which is such a slam dunk. It's really confusing that Yamato didn't do that. We later saw their little cash grab with the weapon sets, so that's probably part of it. There's also this big ammo tin that comes on the side of the toy, but is obviously removable. When you have the gun handle pivoted to the side here, you can do the double hand grip, which is kind of neat to see, considering the articulation overall is fairly limited, but we'll get back to that in just a moment. You do also get empty magazine holders that come on the hips. You also get these little magazines. They just plug right in, and then you take them and plug them back on to the hip of the toy. Now the other thing you can do is that ammo tin that we just put on the gun, same exact ammo tin, would just slide on the hip. So you can go naked, you can go with the tin, or you can go with magazine holders. Those magazines also serve an interesting second function in that they are the power behind the spring-loaded punch. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this arm so I can bring it right in front of you here. There is a magazine inside that slot right there. So let's hold the toy up towards the front, and we will push the magazine from the other side. So hopefully we can get the full effect of the punch. There you go. You can see the magazine popped out onto my hand there. So there is your punch gimmick. We can go ahead and just close that back up and put that on there. Oop, slid right through. There you go. So now there's the arm back together again. The toy comes with some fixed posed hands. They are really difficult, especially the first few times you go to take the existing hands off and put the new hands on. You just kind of have to pivot and pull down. And then you're going to take your hand that is meant to hold the gun in this case. Let's take the gun. Now the top of the gun fell off, but we can deal with that later. Fish everything through. And then we're going to take our thumb, which has separated, and we're going to plug that in. There you go. And should hold the gun fairly well, but that thumb has a tendency to fall off, which will definitely decrease your enjoyment factor there. Once you've got everything back together, you're going to want to put one peg in, and again, just have one side you have to focus on. And I've done this a couple times with this toy now, so that goes on a lot more smoothly. But when you first get it, that is just incredibly difficult and painful procedure. And again, you just pop your arm off, give yourself a better starting point there. There you go, that's back on there. So now this toy does have the premium features you would expect from a deluxe Scopedog toy. It does have a visor that rotates, like so. And as you can see, it's also tracking back left and right. That whole head will twist. And it opens up to show you the pilot inside. So that's all good stuff there. There's also an opening canopy and footwell, but we will dive into that further in just a bit. It's really pretty tricky to try to show you articulation with the gun in the toy's hand, but I did want to show you that you can achieve that holding the gun and using that second hand on the other grip of the rifle pose. It's pretty tough. You got to get everything just in the right spot, but you can accomplish it. And then let's turn our attention to our aptitude test version of the toy. Again, a different paint scheme, but entirely the same toy. The shoulders go all the way around and come out from the body. Now, as I do this, you'll see the flaps moving, the little bits here, your flaps down here, flaps on the side, flap on the butt. All of these things articulated as well. There's a twist point at the bicep. Then you have your elbow, which has some spots where it clearly wants to be, but I wouldn't quite say it's ratcheting, or it is, but it's a very soft ratchet. And as far as you can get is really 90 degrees, so that's not the best articulation in the world. You do have that hip or that wrist that twists and rocks. Then obviously the body at the waist spins. Now be careful when you do this because this whole piece separates, which I will show you momentarily. Then moving down to the hips, get the arm out of the way there. We can bring the leg all the way forward. And we can bring it all the way back. You can hear nice ratcheting joints in there. We can also bring the hips obviously out away from the body. And there's a little twist that you can achieve with them too, so that's good stuff there. Moving down, there's sort of a double knee. So you have your more traditional knee, as well as a pivot here. So there's two pivots going on there, allowing you to get a little bit better than 90 degrees of motion. Now, unfortunately, it's really only that hip that is ratcheting right now. The foot does have an articulated spike. Unfortunately, it'll slide down on you, not always when you want it to. It just comes down. There's also a wheel on the bottom that then recesses into the bottom of the foot. So, nice little attention to detail there. The foot itself, also, we look at the back of the foot. Another cool thing here. Kind of hard to see, but there are little fake pistons that come down, which are pretty cool little mechanical detail. Foot rocks left and right. Comes back and forward, and there's a toe. There's no nothing stopping the toe from moving, which is a bit of a shame because that allows it to fall forward a little too easily. But you do have good back and forth, left and right. You don't get that same elevator motion that we saw in that 12-0 toy recently. So the 12-0 toy, kind of in all respects, beats this toy in articulation. It's not overwhelming, but it's definitely present. So those are things to consider as you are now shopping for a 112 toy, as opposed to 2005. Another premium feature we would expect of a deluxe Scopedog toy is the ability to achieve the down form, and this toy can obviously accomplish that. Just bring up your butt flap, bring your leg back, and then at the knee you're going to pivot up. Should just come out like that. Now my little spike fell off, that is not a big deal. And then we're going to turn our attention to the other leg. Just do the exact same thing. Bring up the leg, pivot at the knee, and then just put the toy on the ground. And there you are. You are in the down form. Now, one weakness of the Yamato down form is that if you brought the arm straight down, it would be sitting on the fists. So you do want to have them a little forward or a little crooked at the elbow to really get the appropriate look. And the feet should rest perfectly flat on the ground. And obviously, as far as down forms go, that's a very quick and easy way to accomplish it. It looks good. There's a little piston within the leg, which is a nice little detail there. And there you have it. You might have noticed as I've been doing this review that this toy is very modular. You can remove many of the parts. You can basically disassemble the toy almost entirely. So we'll start with the arms, taking the arms off here. The shoulder on top can pop off, which is obviously handy if you're going to do a red shoulder custom or something along those lines. So it's on there pretty stiffly, but it's just a big fat peg that you need to work your way off. And then once you do, it should come off like so. The bicep armors are pretty problematic. They come off a little too freely, very frequently. In fact, sometimes you'll see the toy brand new in the box with those having rattled loose on you. You have this elbow armor on the back. You can wiggle it free, and then that allows you to pull the two sides of the arm off. And we are now kind of at the base component here. We can remove the magazine, and of course we could remove that hand if we wanted to. And basically that's your light version Scopedog, if you'll remember from the one OVA. So there you go, you can put that arm back on, and now you have a armorless arm, so that's kind of a cool feature. Now we can also twist off the entire top of the vehicle. So now we have the cockpit section. We can remove the head. We can also remove the visor independently, but here is the interior of the head, which is pretty neat looking. You've got detail up atop. You also have a screen up in the front that is attached to that visor. So that's all very cool stuff there. Turning our attention to the core, we have the cockpit, which on this toy is a little stiff, but it has a door that comes up. And as it comes up, you can open it. There it goes. So there's the door opened. And it comes up, and you got these little pistons. This one is very firm and stays up very well, but I've seen people complain that theirs do not, so your mileage may vary. You have the controls here. They come up, and they do not twist. Do they twist? They do not twist, but they do come up and go down. And then this whole control center goes down as well. And then you have your footwell, which is also removable, and it reveals the pedals that the pilot would use. Turning our attention to the back, this little piece here has popped free and has that detail there. So all pretty cool stuff there. Moving our way down, we have the legs. So we can remove the legs. We have the core component there of the hips, not a lot of exciting stuff going on there. So the leg armors on mine were incredibly tough to get off. So I'm going to go ahead and redo this, having loosened up those armors. You can see I've pulled away from the center. We can start at the top though. We'll take this hip armor, just wiggle jiggle, it comes off. And the same thing on the other side here. Now for the lower radiator shields, what you want to do is just engage that downform joint, and that lets you get your fingers inside and you can pull away. Now the spike also just fell off, but that's fine. Here you can see that radiator detail, that's pretty slick. Same thing on the other side. There's a peg at the bottom and a peg in the front. That peg in the front that goes in right there is incredibly stiff, so you're going to really have to get in there and pull away. So hopefully you don't have lights and a camera in your face, otherwise you should be fine. Just a little bit of reassembly later and you can have basically a light Scopedog, which is a pretty cool function. Obviously you don't have to remove all the parts, you can swap which ones you want out, build your own diorama. The other thing that's great about how modular this thing is if you did want to customize it and do some weathering to it, you could pull each piece apart and give it the treatment it deserves without being really stuck by many of the bits and pieces that are glued together or something like that. This is really a customizer's dream in a lot of ways, which is good since it comes so plain. For those of you really picky about your Melkia color schemes, here is a color test. I've got the Takara Tomy AGN over here. This is the CM's Melkia version. Here is the Takara Tomy DMZ toy, and then obviously the Yamato we've been looking at today. You can see Yamato has a bit truer purple, closer to the CMs, where Takara Tomy gravitates more towards a pink color in both their releases. The DMZ has a little bit of weathering to it that brings out the purple. And similarly, here's the Yamato Odon Investigation Unit. Here's a Takara Tomy Actic Gear version. You can see that it is a little bit darker in its interpretation. Really, I think these are the only two companies that have taken a stab at an Odon Investigation Scopedog. So here's another color test and scale comparison. We have the 32 centimeter tall Yamato, the 33.5 centimeter tall 3.0, and then the 118 scale 24 centimeter tall Takara DMZ. Yamato kicked things off in 2004 with their version 1 toys. The DMZ followed in 2006 while Yamato was still releasing some of the later versions. The 3.0 toy is a 2017 release. As I mentioned earlier, the 3.0 toy does have a little better range of motion on its joints and obviously a far superior paint scheme, but it carries a far superior price tag with it. You can get almost 4 of the Yamato version 1s these days for the price of one 3.0 toy. So, is it worth it to you? That's a good question. The DMZ also really represents a nice compromise between the two. You get the paint scheme that you'd want. You get the opening cockpit with the pilot figure. You don't get the full disassembly. It doesn't have quite the mass, but it is also a very good toy. So you have a few good options now, depending on what your budget is and what you're trying to accomplish. So, should you hunt down a version 1 Yamato 112 Scopedog toy? That is a great question. If you are on a budget and really would like a deluxe Scopedog toy, this is a great option for you. The version 1s are typically pretty cheap. Now, they are going to frustrate you. Their weight is definitely, the center of gravity is more towards the back. They will fall backwards. You'll go to catch him and you'll just grab an arm and the arm will pop off instead of actually catching the toy. It'll fall down, the front of the gun will fall off, the ammo tin will fall off, the thumb will pop out. So it can be a frustrating experience in a lot of ways. The version 2s definitely improved things. If you were thinking about getting the accessories often come with joint stiffening or locking pieces to help you keep poses. So that's helpful, but kind of not ideal, obviously. If you are any sort of a customizer, you can easily tighten up a lot of these joints and things that pop off to make it a less frustrating experience. And you can give the toy a wash, put stickers on it, and make it really pop. So certainly you can save yourself a lot of money, get a version 1 112 toy, spruce it up a bit, and you're way better off. If you're rich, obviously just go with the 3.0 toy. And if scale or if space is a issue at all, the DMZ toys, again, a very nice compromise. All right, check out anymoon.com for my full article, and as always, thanks for watching.